Thank you, Judge. Detective, two things I just want to clarify first. So S62, what you just read, that corresponds to the April 11th, 2018 date?
Yes, it did.
Okay, and that said from Keith Caneiro, is that right?
Correct.
Was it your understanding that that was just a message from the defendant that was sent to Keith and then Keith forwarded it to somebody else?
Yes.
Okay. And then, based upon your review of this case and phone records, is it your understanding that Mr. Caneiro's cell phone never left his house that evening at all, or during that time frame?
That is correct.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to show you what's been marked as S63.
Detective, do you recognize that?
Yes, these are the emails that are inside that Google Drive response.
Okay, so we can please have S422 again. Detective, I'm going to ask you again to just demarcate maybe where the date starts and ends, so 9/13 of 18.
Oops.
And when you get to the bottom, we'll scroll down further.
Okay.
If we can just scroll back to the top where we start at 9/13/18. The next series of messages are between who on 9/13/18?
From Paul Caneiro to Keith Caneiro.
It's back and forth, essentially?
Correct.
Okay, so it's between Keith Caneiro. And is Keith Caneiro's name listed where his messages are?
Yes, it is.
And then whose number is 732-500-7902?
Paul Caneiro.
Okay. If you could just undo that red mark. Now, is what you have in front of you, which I'm going to take back, S63, September 13th, do those correspond with all of the September 13th that we see on the screen?
Yes.
And you've read these prior to today multiple times, right?
Correct.
Okay. Detective, if you can, I'd like you to read these for us, but indicate who is speaking first before you read each one, and we'll click into them. So starting with the first, September 13th, 18.
From Keith Caneiro, did you talk to the Terminex people? From Paul Caneiro, yes, they aren't budging. From Paul Caneiro, I will explain when we talk. From Keith Caneiro, is it worth it at $850? From Keith Caneiro, yes or no, based on the business. From Paul Caneiro, I can't stay tonight, I have a dentist appointment. From Paul Caneiro, no. From Keith Caneiro, what did Weinstein say about the number? From Paul Caneiro, they are still interested. From Keith Caneiro, but they aren't budging. From Keith Caneiro, so it would be $400K each, minus the car expenses, etc. From Keith Caneiro, I'm still in. From Paul Caneiro, they want us to let them know what the numbers are like. From Keith Caneiro, what do you mean? From Paul Caneiro, at the end of the year. From Paul Caneiro, I'll call you from the car. From Keith Caneiro, what are the projections? Can't we work off that and see what it would be like? From Keith Caneiro, okay. From Paul Caneiro, different topic. From Paul Caneiro, T-Mobile is out of stock on the V2 routers, and they found one for me at a store in Shrewsbury, and it's on hold for me. From Keith Caneiro. Cool. From Keith Caneiro. I'll take the one if you need the two. I'm not picky. From Paul Keneiro. Do you want me to head down that way for lunch? From Keith Caneiro. Where is that exactly? From Paul Keneiro. We are getting another one. From Paul Keneiro. When they are in stock. From Paul Keneiro. I can't wait. From Keith Caneiro. Is that the mall? From Paul Keneiro. No. From Paul Keneiro. By the Grove. From Keith Caneiro. I guess we can meet there. Alberano, I bought lunch last time at Chinese, so I'm not buying shit today. Bring dollar signs.
From Keith.
I'm sorry. From Keith Caneiro, bring dollar signs. From Paul Keneiro, we can get it after lunch. From Paul Keneiro, let's meet at your house. From Keith Caneiro, okay, let's meet here. From Paul Keneiro, I don't have a lot of money. From Keith Caneiro, me neither. From Keith Caneiro, Doug is giving you cash. We can split lunch. From Keith Caneiro, what did Weinstein say about the $850K? From Keith Caneiro, so that they are basically giving us one-time revenue. From Keith Caneiro, or a bit above that. From Paul Keneiro, he thought it was good, but we could get more next year. From Paul Keneiro, I'm packing up now. From Keith Caneiro, time/money calculation. From Keith Caneiro, I'm curious to see what the numbers would be at the run rate and if it is worth going in that direction. From Paul Keneiro, yes, the growth of the business. From Keith Caneiro, IDK, abbreviation for I don't know. From Keith Caneiro, I would have to see the projected. From Keith Caneiro, so we ended up giving them wrong numbers at first based on Pest Pack. From Paul Keneiro, because Pest Pack runs 2 reports with the same name with different options. From Keith Caneiro, so the net result was that we give them inaccurate information, and that is why the number didn't jump up after the first offer. From Paul Keneiro, the number went up 100K. From Keith Caneiro, from 750 to 850. From Paul Keneiro, yes. From Keith Caneiro, okay. From Keith Caneiro, have them put their offer in writing to me so I can see what the TCs are. From Paul Keneiro, okay. From Keith Caneiro, let's see what it is. From Keith Caneiro, so EchoStar owes Square One money. We could take in the money, say 800K, and pay back Square One the money owed from the past, and then export it out to the loans to officers. I have 150K from last year, which could reduce the tax burden. From Keith Caneiro, did you talk to Weinstein about that? From Paul Keneiro, yes. From Keith Caneiro, what did he say? Do we have a list of the money owed between companies that I can look at? From Paul Caneiro, your loan to officer is being reduced on the square one side. From Keith Caneiro, I get that. I'm curious as to what EchoStar owes to square one for salaries, etc. From Paul Caneiro, I will ask Tiffany. From Keith Caneiro, I want to push that money through to that, to reduce it as a taxable capital gain. From Keith Caneiro, don't ask Tiffany, I'll ask Weinstein. From Keith Caneiro, these are numbers we should have because it can really frame how we do a deal like this. From Keith Caneiro, the company, EchoStar, wasn't paying its fair share of the rent, resources that it was directly using, etc. From Paul Caneiro, we don't have to. From Paul Caneiro, all of the proceeds will be to pay back loans to officers. For Paul Caneiro, no tax. From Keith Caneiro, so we have loans to officers on that side of the company already documented? From Paul Caneiro, yes. From Keith Caneiro, okay, I want to see that. From Keith Caneiro, for EchoStar. From Keith Caneiro, get something in writing from Terminex. From Paul Caneiro, I spoke to Steve and he said that was very easy. From Paul Caneiro, I already asked them. From Keith Caneiro, what was very easy, the documentation that we have, or creating the documentation now. From Keith Caneiro, we should have had documentation all along. From Paul Caneiro, we have whatever documentation we want. From Paul Caneiro, we are not a public company. From Paul Caneiro, and the buy-in was sweat equity. Excuse me. From Keith Caneiro, gotcha. From Paul Caneiro, YTD 402.2K. From Paul Caneiro, last year, same time. From Paul Caneiro, time. From Keith Caneiro, I just want documentation to stand up to any light that is shown on this transaction. I don't want assurances that this is the proper way and that we have complete documentation to show otherwise. From Keith Caneiro, what is the number 402.2K? From Paul Caneiro, 397.3. From Keith Caneiro, revenue, loans to officers, etc. From Keith Caneiro, I don't know what that is. From Paul Caneiro, revenue. From Keith Caneiro, so they are two-time revenue? I thought you said we were higher, 500 going to 800K. From Keith Caneiro, so we're basically flat in revenue? From Keith Caneiro, make the deal. From Paul Caneiro, no, we can wait a quarter and see how much more we can get. From Keith Caneiro, I'm not interested in waiting. From Paul Caneiro, that is a YTD. From Paul Caneiro, 2018. From Paul Caneiro versus 2017. From Paul Caneiro, the rolling 12 months is this. From Keith Caneiro, you can project it. From Keith Caneiro, it's not going to be much better, and waiting isn't something that makes sense. Money today is worth more than money tomorrow. From Keith Caneiro, and we are within 5K of last year. We can look at last year's numbers, YTD number, and add 5K. From Paul Caneiro, past 2 years revenue, 17 and 18, YTD, 936.7K. From Paul Caneiro, prior full 2 years, 16 and 17, 813.4K. From Keith Caneiro, like I said, add 5K to the current run rate, and we are exactly where we should be. From Keith Caneiro, let's walk on this shit, take the money, pay down your situation, and get back to normal baseline. From Paul Caneiro, I don't understand. From Keith Caneiro, I'll take the money, put it into my 401k, and move forward. From Paul Caneiro, we are 5K more than last year. From Paul Caneiro, you can't put it in the 401k. From Keith Caneiro, okay, I see it. From Paul Caneiro, there is a max per year. From Paul Caneiro, and you are hitting it. From Keith Caneiro, what do you mean? I have to pay back the loans? I can get a shit ton of it here. I'm sorry, there. From Keith Caneiro, then I'll pay down my loan to my insurance policy. From Keith Caneiro, and I'll put it into the kids 529. From Keith Caneiro, but I have to plan for the future. From Paul Caneiro, rolling 12 months. From Paul Caneiro, August 31st, 2017 to September 1st, 2018, 583.6K. From Paul Caneiro, August 31, 2016 to September 1st, 2017, 552.1. From Keith Caneiro, this isn't what they are looking at. From Keith Caneiro, they are looking YTD estimate. From Paul Caneiro, yes it is. From Paul Caneiro, no. From Keith Caneiro, what is the J-D YTD number? From Paul Caneiro, rolling 12 months. From Keith Caneiro, so why isn't the number higher than 850K? From Paul Caneiro, for 2017. From Keith Caneiro, give me 2017 final number and a 2018 estimate number based on the run rate, not the 2016 through 17 rolling number. From Keith Caneiro, give me a solid 2017 and an estimate 2018. From Keith Caneiro, what is EBITDA number for the trailing 12 months? From Keith Caneiro, I see what you're selling. Excuse me. I see who are saying LTN. From Paul Caneiro, 586.3K. From Keith Caneiro, so we are like 1.2 times revenue, which isn't terrible. From Keith Caneiro, look, 1 hour and 5 minutes in. From Paul Caneiro, that is only money collected. From Paul Caneiro, do you want me to see what was billed? From Keith Caneiro, so it is 850 plus the receivables. From Keith Caneiro, Doug is here. From Keith Caneiro, you on your way. From Paul Caneiro, that was a number they are most interested in. From Keith Caneiro, yes, send me what you sent them and I'll read it over. From Paul Caneiro, I am sending it. From Keith Caneiro, Doug is here. From Paul Caneiro, This is a number from June 31 of 17 to July 1 of 18. $626,785.05. From Keith Caneiro. So they are at 1.2 times roughly. From Paul Caneiro. We are almost done with another quarter. From Paul Caneiro, 1.4. From Keith Caneiro, 1.4 isn't bad if you watch that video I sent you. From Paul Caneiro, it was 1.2. From Paul Caneiro, at the end of the quarter, we should be higher. From Paul Caneiro, closer to 700K. From Paul Caneiro, I'm leaving now. From Keith Caneiro, okay.
Was that the extent of the on the screen of the messages from 9/13/18?
Yes, it is.
Next, we're going to show you what's been marked as S64. Do you recognize these?
Yes, these are the emails that correspond to what we have on the screen.
Okay, to specifically what date on the screen?
9/17/2018.
Thank you. And I hate to make you read more, but I'm going to ask you to read, starting with the first 9/17/18 email, the same way that you did with the two in the from.
From Keith Caneiro, I need to know where we are at with this ASAP. From Paul Caneiro, I made the offer and I am waiting on a callback. I'll follow up with him later. I can't talk on the phone. From Keith Caneiro, what about the other people who you said were good? From Keith Caneiro, we're actually putting the 300 AD out. I'm concerned here. From Paul Caneiro, I reached out and nothing yet. I'll post the ad today. It's ready to go. From Keith Caneiro, so you spoke to the guy and made him an offer? When? From Keith Caneiro, when did he say he would get back to you? From Keith Caneiro, she is questioning the utility of the third person, exactly what I was trying to get ahead of. From Paul Caneiro, over the weekend. Today, he's getting back to me. From Paul Caneiro, I have to go back inside. I'll talk to you later on my break. From Keith Caneiro, break? From Keith Caneiro, what the fuck are you doing? From Keith Caneiro, this is total bullshit. You have time to email me when you need money for your insurance, but you don't have time to follow up with me. I'm fucking dealing with an issue that affects our only large client. From Keith Caneiro, don't put your insurance on my fucking card. I'll find my own fucking employee and put my own fucking advertisement out. From Keith Caneiro, I'm done with chasing you down your fucking schedule. From Keith Caneiro, so fuck off with this shit already. From Keith Caneiro, 100 fucking emails and conversations, and you can't follow up properly on any of them. From Keith Caneiro, where the fuck is my one-page explanation from the 401k fiasco that I asked you for months ago? From Paul Caneiro, I'm at the doctor's for my back in Philly. I told you yesterday I wasn't going to be around. I'll call you shortly. I've called all the people that were good and made an offer to Joshua Scott. He's getting back to me today. I'll follow up and find out if he wants the job. If not, I'll reactivate the ad. I didn't want to spend the $300 if we didn't need to. I called Joshua from my mobile and then asked the office to follow up with him, but he wasn't around, on vacation abroad, and called me back on Friday. I made the offer and he told me he would get back to me on Monday. The ad is ready to go if he doesn't accept. From Keith Caneiro. So you risked all our business for $300? Are you fucking kidding me? From Keith Caneiro. Don't call me. From Paul Caneiro. I called a bunch of people from the previous bunch. From Paul Caneiro. Okay. From Paul Caneiro. I'll post the ad now. From Paul Caneiro. Post it. From Paul Caneiro. I'll let you know what comes in. From Paul Caneiro. From the previous bunch, no response, or they took other positions. From Paul Caneiro. Both ads are posted, and I will let you know what I get. From Keith Caneiro. Question. Regarding the insurance payment, why can't we put it monthly? Why do I need to put the $5K on the credit card? From Paul Caneiro. Because it's late and I don't have the cash right now. I have to pay for Katie's admissions, and I was not expecting that. From Keith Caneiro. This is what he told me. From Keith Caneiro. Because it's late and I don't have the cash right now. I had to pay for Katie's admissions, and I was not expecting that. From Keith Caneiro. Can't we do the monthly payment instead? From Paul Caneiro. Yes, but this needs to be paid in full. From Keith Caneiro. Because it is late? Why because it is late? From Paul Caneiro. Because it's past due. From Keith Caneiro. Who is the agent? From Paul Caneiro. Allstate. From Keith Caneiro. How late is it? From Paul Caneiro. I sent Tiffany the info. From Paul Caneiro. I got a cancellation notice. From Paul Caneiro. Either yes or no, I am still in the clinic. From Keith Caneiro. Hold. From Keith Caneiro. Hey, send me the cancellation notice for Paul's insurance via email ASAP. From Keith Caneiro. Did you send her the cancellation notice? From Keith Caneiro. How does it normally get paid? Does he pay it himself? From Keith Caneiro. I just noticed that I paid your entire thing last year, remember? From Keith Caneiro. Last year. Paul, put it on Amex. From Paul Caneiro. 6 months. From Keith Caneiro. I paid 6 months. From Keith Caneiro. Last year. From Paul Caneiro. I'm asking for a loan. From Keith Caneiro. You took money last year for insurance. From Paul Caneiro. I went to pay it and the check bounced. From Paul Caneiro. I'm late and received a cancellation notice. From Paul Caneiro. Is that a no? From Keith Caneiro. I'm working it now. From Keith Caneiro. I'll let you know in a few. Trying to figure something out with Allstate so I don't have to do the entire amount. From Paul Caneiro. We lose the discount. I'm going to give you the money back by the end of the month. From Paul Caneiro. As soon as my check arrives. From Paul Caneiro. Where I get the $10K from you. From Paul Caneiro. I usually get my check on the 27th. From Keith Caneiro. How much did I give you for the insurance last year when you charged it? From Paul Caneiro. I will have to look. I don't have that information with me. From Keith Caneiro. I'm taking that off the 10K. From Keith Caneiro. I'll pay this and we are done. I don't owe you 10K. From Keith Caneiro. You okay with that? From Paul Caneiro. No. From Keith Caneiro. Then no. From Keith Caneiro, you didn't pay me back for that money. From Paul Caneiro, why would I not get paid for the rest of the 10K? From Keith Caneiro, Paul equals 5K plus 5K equals 10K. From Paul Caneiro, because the company was paying it. From Keith Caneiro, I'm the company. From Keith Caneiro, the company wasn't paying your 5K from last year. You put that on the credit card at the last minute. From Paul Caneiro, and I get 10% of the business. From Keith Caneiro, keep the fucking 10%. From Keith Caneiro, but I'm done paying you anything for a salary. From Keith Caneiro, you are on your own. From Paul Caneiro, okay, thank you. From Keith Caneiro, that's your W-2 since 2011. We are done at this point. From Keith Caneiro, I'm not going to do this dance with you. From Keith Caneiro, so you are okay with me paying the 5K in the business because it is business, quote unquote? From Keith Caneiro, when I look at it, that I could have spent that 5K on something other than your insurance. From Paul Caneiro, and I worked up until the end of 2012. From Keith Caneiro, you aren't entitled to anything. You should have just been happy that I was trying to help you out since your accident. From Keith Caneiro, so? From Paul Caneiro, okay, thank you. From Paul Caneiro, I'm sorry I asked. From Keith Caneiro, so do you want me to pay the 5K today and add it to the 5K that I quote-unquote owe you? From Paul Caneiro, nothing else is needed to say. From Keith Caneiro, or you want to play fucking games. From Keith Caneiro, okay, I won't pay it. From Paul Caneiro, no, I said I'll pay you the money back for this. From Paul Caneiro, I would have had it if I didn't have to pay for her school applications. From Paul Caneiro, so I'm asking you for a loan. From Keith Caneiro, you owe me 5K from last year. I'm taking it off the 10K. From Paul Caneiro, that's all. From Keith Caneiro, so I owe you 5K? From Paul Caneiro, how is that? From Keith Caneiro, I made a $700 payment to keep your insurance in play for now. From Keith Caneiro, Ed is going to call Tiffany tomorrow. From Paul Caneiro, the company paid for it and got the deductions for it. From Keith Caneiro, deduction? From Keith Caneiro, are you out of your fucking mind? Do you know the difference between a deduction and a tax credit? From Keith Caneiro, a deduction is 30% that amount. From Keith Caneiro, I don't give 5K off my taxes. I get 0.30% of that number off our taxes. From Keith Caneiro, whatever, Paul. From Paul Caneiro, I understand that. From Paul Caneiro, and I am paying plenty of taxes for the company. From Keith Caneiro, you are paying your taxes based on your ownership. From Keith Caneiro, Paul, we are done. I'm not paying you moving forward. You have to find a way on your own. From Paul Caneiro, I said okay. From Keith Caneiro, okay. From Paul Caneiro, I want my 10% of the profits and or money you took from the business. All of your quote-unquote cash payouts reduce the profits. From Keith Caneiro, fuck off. From Paul Caneiro, ask Steve if you don't believe me. From Paul Caneiro, he will tell you. From Keith Caneiro, Paul, we are done. I'm going to stop paying you this week. From Paul Caneiro, okay, I said that was fine. From Keith Caneiro, you don't get to strong-arm me. From Keith Caneiro, I'm going to put that money towards paying down the fucking debt. From Keith Caneiro, and I just put $150K into the business. Your kids are done with college. I need to start saving for my kids' education. From Keith Caneiro, I can't do it by putting $150K into the business, never to see that again. From Paul Caneiro, I'm not. I'm just telling you that you don't take other factors into consideration. From Keith Caneiro, I'm taking it all into consideration, trust me. From Paul Caneiro, you're getting paid back for every cent. From Paul Caneiro, ask Steve. From Keith Caneiro, I'm not asking Steve shit. From Paul Caneiro, the entire 401k loan is paid back to you as an expense each pay period. From Keith Caneiro, and if you would have just been mindful about how difficult my situation is, or even thought once how I did for you, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. From Keith Caneiro, I'm paying taxes on it. From Keith Caneiro, it was a loan on the books. From Paul Caneiro, no you are not. From Keith Caneiro, whatever Paul, don't threaten me. You wouldn't like where that goes. From Keith Caneiro, trust me. From Paul Caneiro, and the payback is not taxable. From Keith Caneiro, I put Susan on the books. I match your taxes for your kids. You give yourself a giant raise in 2013. Our employees didn't get raises for years while we were losing customers. From Keith Caneiro, then you quote-unquote helped me by never helping me, making me fucking crazy, undermining me with the people. From Paul Caneiro, she was doing that for the first few payments and changed it to a reimbursement against loan from officer. From Paul Caneiro, like who? From Keith Caneiro, we are done. You want me to be the villain? I'm the fucking bad guy. From Keith Caneiro, every single thing I've asked you for, hundreds of emails, did you ever get me the 401k one-pager? From Paul Caneiro, I'm not saying anything about you. From Paul Caneiro, I am just pointing out things which you may not have considered. From Keith Caneiro, saying you don't have to say shit, you just have to ignore every single thing that I quote-unquote ask you to do. From Keith Caneiro, I have considered it all. From Keith Caneiro, if we can get $850 for EchoStar versus 1M at the end of the year, I'll wait, otherwise let's sell. From Keith Caneiro, I want to put the money off the table before some other screw-up, taxes, 401k, etc. Cost me another $100K. From Keith Caneiro, like when Tiffany forgot to pay my taxes properly, cost me $150K tax lien on my house. From Keith Caneiro, I'm done. I want out. If I could get a decent job in the marketplace, I would just fucking walk. From Keith Caneiro, you will get your percentage as a bonus at the end of the year. From Paul Caneiro, as for the paper, I've been focusing on getting the transition from creative planning to paychecks with almost zero cost. I made creative planning eat all of their costs. From Keith Caneiro, they're lucky I don't get a fucking lawyer and sue them. From Keith Caneiro, for their general incompetence. From Keith Caneiro, they should have checked those numbers from day one and audited them over time to ensure that they were correct. From Keith Caneiro, That's called assurance, something they don't even fucking understand. From Keith Caneiro, would have been really helpful for me to have a one-page document so I could figure out where things really fell apart. Apparently you don't think it was necessary after I asked you 20 times. From Paul Keneiro, that's up to you. The damages won't be substantial considering that we didn't pay any penalties, just timing of the payments to the employees' accounts. I agree with you on that, but Paycheck was the one who dropped the ball with the adjustment. From Keith Caneiro, yes, they dropped the ball. It wasn't creative. Who didn't figure out that the money they were getting wasn't correct until 2 years later? From Keith Caneiro, but Paychecks is at fault. From Keith Caneiro, and the damages? I had to take $150K out of my 401K. I paid fucking bonus based on wrong numbers. From Keith Caneiro, I'm done. This is water under the bridge. From Paul Keneiro, I've been working on other things like interviewing for both companies, managing EchoStar and accelerating the collections process, dealing with clients, and heading out on proposals. From Keith Caneiro, you are my brother. I'll help you as best I can, but I'm not doing this. From Keith Caneiro, as far as square one, you were getting paid for the work that you did, interviewing and all that. From Keith Caneiro, EchoStar is 50% yours, so it is not going to pay off when we sell.
Just to clarify, it says, so that is going to pay off when we sell, right?
I'm sorry. If you go back to it, I'll clarify. EchoStar, it's 50% yours, so that is going to pay off when we sell. From Paul Keneiro, thank you for helping me out with the $700. I appreciate it. From Keith Caneiro, it's not the $700, Paul, it's the rest of it. From Paul Keneiro, agreed. From Paul Keneiro, agreed. From Keith Caneiro, you never even offered to pay me back the $5K from last year's insurance bullshit. But because it was from the company, but the $10K that you let me years and years ago, that is something I should dig into my pocket for now. From Paul Keneiro, not $150K. From Keith Caneiro, this is just total bullshit. Like I didn't give you the $10K back over and over again. From Paul Keneiro, it was $80K. From Keith Caneiro, so leave me the fuck alone.